Hey there, I'm Pernilla, a 28-year-old Danish girl trying to navigate life in the USA. So there I was sitting in my favorite coffee shop in downtown Chicago, sketching logo ideas, when this guy walks in. Tall, dark, and handsome doesn't even begin to cover it. That was Brandon. 3 whirlwind months later, we were saying, I do. You're sure about this, Pernilla? My best friend and coworker, Aisha, asked, helping me into my wedding dress. I mean, you barely know his family. I laughed it off. Come on, Aisha. They're going to love me. Oh, how wrong I was. Enter Evelyn, Brandon's mom, and Courtney, his sister. From day one, it was clear I wasn't what they had in mind for their precious Brandon. So, Pernilla, Evelyn began during our first family dinner, her smile never quite reaching her eyes. How long do you plan on staying in America? I tried to laugh it off. Well, I'm married to Brandon now, so I guess I'm here for good. The silence that followed was deafening. As weeks turned into months, I did everything I could to fit in. I learned to make apple pie, watched football, even started saying, "ow." Okay, that one didn't stick, but nothing seemed to be enough. Honey, maybe you could try dressing a bit more American? Brandon suggested one day, eyeing my colorful Danish sweater. I frowned. What's wrong with how I dress? He backpedaled quickly. Nothing, is just, you know how mom is. And that was the problem. I was starting to know exactly how Evelyn was, and it wasn't pretty. As Thanksgiving approached, I threw myself into preparations, thinking this would be my chance to finally feel like part of the family. I'm thinking of making a traditional Danish dish alongside the turkey, I told Brandon, excited. He hesitated. Maybe stick to the classics this year, babe. Mom's pretty particular about Thanksgiving. I tried not to let the disappointment show. Sure, whatever you think is best. The day before Thanksgiving, Evelyn called. Pernilla, dear, why don't you come over early to help with preparations? Of course, I said, ignoring Aisha's eye roll beside me. Great. Oh, and don't worry about bringing anything. We've got it all covered. As I hung up, Aisha shook her head. Girl, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. I sighed. They're family now, Aisha. I have to try. The next morning, Brandon and I pulled up to his family's suburban home. As we walked to the door, he squeezed my hand. Ready for your first American Thanksgiving? I nodded, pushing down the knot of anxiety in my stomach. Ready as I'll ever be. Little did I know I was walking into a disaster that would change everything. The moment I stepped into Evelyn's kitchen, I could feel the tension in the air. The smell of roasting turkey mixed with the unmistakable stench of thinly veiled hostility. Oh, Pernilla, dear, Evelyn said sweetly, why don't you set the table? The good china is in the cabinet. I nodded, eager to help. But before I could reach for the plates, Courtney swooped in. I've got it, Mom. Pernilla probably doesn't know how we do things here. The jabs continued all afternoon. Every family story conveniently left me out. Every tradition was explained to me like I was a child. We always watch the parade, Pernilla. It's an American thing, Courtney said slowly, as if I couldn't understand. Finally, we sat down to eat. I noticed my plate looked different. The turkey seemed off, the texture strange. Enjoy your meal, everyone, Evelyn smiled, her eyes gleaming as they met mine. I took a bite and almost gagged. The taste was awful, nothing like turkey. As I looked around in confusion, I caught glimpses of smirks. Poorly concealed laughter rippled through the table. Is something wrong, Pernilla? Brandon's uncle asked innocently. It hit me suddenly. This wasn't turkey. It was dog food. My stomach turned. Oh my God, I whispered, pushing my chair back. How could you? Evelyn's laughter was the loudest. Come now, Pernilla, it's just a little joke. Don't be so sensitive. I turned to Brandon, hoping for support, but he just sat there with a weak smile. Babe, they're just teasing. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal? I felt like I was going to be sick. Without a word, I grabbed my purse and ran out, ignoring the calls behind me. As I drove away, tears blurred my vision. Memories of every slight and snub flashed before me. Evelyn accidentally spilling wine on my favorite dress. Courtney forgetting to invite me to her engagement party. Brandon never standing up for me. My phone buzzed nonstop. Brandon's text swung between dismissive and pleading. Come on, it was just a prank. Don't overreact. Babe, please come back. You're embarrassing me. My family thinks you can't take a joke. I ignored them all and drove straight to Aisha's apartment. She opened the door, took one look at my face, and pulled me into a hug. "What happened?" she asked gently, leading me to the couch. Through my sobs, I told her everything. With every word I shared, Aisha's face darkened. "That's it," she said firmly. "You're leaving him tonight." I hesitated. But maybe if I just try harder. "No," Aisha cut me off. "This isn't about you trying harder. They're abusive, Pernilla. And Brandon, he's just as bad for allowing it." Deep down, I knew she was right. This wasn't love. This wasn't family. That night, while Brandon was still at his parents', I packed my bags. I left my wedding ring on the kitchen counter with a note. I deserve better than dog food and disrespect. Goodbye, Brandon. The next morning, I filed for divorce. As I signed the papers, a weight lifted off my shoulders. For the first time in months, I could breathe. But as I left the lawyer's office, my phone pinged with a message from Evelyn. "I always knew you weren't good enough for our family. Run back to Denmark, little girl." I stared at the screen, a new emotion rising in my chest. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. If they wanted to play games, fine. They were about to learn that this Danish girl could bite back. The weeks following Thanksgiving were a blur of tears, anger, and paperwork. I threw myself into work, grateful for the distraction. One day, my boss noticed my distress and approached me. "Pernilla, is everything okay? You seem different." I broke down, spilling the whole ugly story. To my surprise, she was incredibly supportive. "Take all the time you need. We've got your back here." Meanwhile, Brandon swung between begging for reconciliation and lashing out. "Baby, please, it was just a stupid prank. We can work this out," he pleaded one day. The next, it was, "You're being ridiculous. My family's right. You're too sensitive for your own good." His family, however, was consistent in their attacks. Rumors spread through our social circle, labeling me as a gold digger and culturally incompatible. Aisha, bless her, stood by me like a fortress. "Ignore those snakes. You're better off without them." She introduced me to her friend Mark, a divorce lawyer with kind eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. "What they did was emotional abuse, Pernilla," he said during our first meeting. "We're going to make sure you come out of this okay." One sleepless night, I started writing, pouring my experiences into a blog post. To my shock, it went viral overnight. Comments flooded in. "This happened to me too. You're so brave for speaking out." I thought I was alone in dealing with toxic in-laws. Suddenly, I had a platform. People were listening, sharing their own stories of family abuse and cultural insensitivity. Brandon's family, predictably, tried to discredit me. "She's exaggerating for attention," Courtney posted on social media. It was just a harmless joke. But their attempts backfired. More people came forward, including Brandon's ex-girlfriend. "They did similar things to me," she wrote. "The emotional manipulation, the jokes that went too far, it's a pattern with them." With Aisha and Mark's help, I compiled these stories, building a case that went beyond just my experience. "Pernilla," Mark said one evening, reviewing the evidence, "I think it's time to go public with all of this." I hesitated. What if they sue me for defamation? Aisha squeezed my hand. "Let them try. Truth is the best defense, and girl, you've got truth in spades." As I prepared my story for a major online publication, I felt a mix of fear and determination. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about every person who'd ever been made to feel small by those who should have loved them. I took a deep breath and started typing. "My name is Pernilla, and this is the story of how my American dream turned into a nightmare." Little did I know, hitting publish would set off a chain of events that would change not just my life, but the lives of many others. Brandon's family thought they could break me. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. The moment I hit publish, my world exploded. Within hours, my story was everywhere. News sites, social media, talk shows. The public outrage was immediate and intense. My phone buzzed nonstop with messages of support. "You're so brave, Pernilla. Thank you for speaking out." But the real shockwaves hit Brandon's family. His company, facing immense backlash, issued a statement. "We do not condone discriminatory behavior. Brandon is on indefinite leave while we investigate." Evelyn wasn't spared either. Parents at her school, horrified by her treatment of an immigrant daughter-in-law, demanded action. The school board called an emergency meeting. Courtney's perfect world crumbled too. Her fiance's family, disgusted by the revelations, withdrew their support. The wedding's off, Aisha read aloud from a gossip site, a hint of satisfaction in her voice. Guess karma is real after all. Meanwhile, my blog took off. It became a platform for others to share their stories of family abuse and cultural insensitivity. I was overwhelmed by the response. Pernilla, my agent, yes, I had an agent now, said, "We got offers for book deals, speaking engagements. People want to hear your story." It was surreal. Me, the girl who once felt voiceless, now had the world's ear. Amidst the chaos, Brandon made one last attempt to reach out. He showed up at my new apartment looking haggard. "Pilla, please, I'm sorry. I didn't realize. Can we start over?" I looked at him, the man I once thought I loved, and felt nothing. "No, Brandon, we can't. Goodbye." As I closed the door on him, I felt a chapter of my life definitively end. But as one door closed, others opened. My graphic design career soared. Clients, impressed by my story and my work, flooded in. "I'm starting my own agency," I told Aisha over celebratory drinks, focusing on empowering immigrant-owned businesses. She raised her glass to new beginnings and sweet justice. A year flew by in a whirlwind of success. My book became a bestseller, my speaking engagements sold out, and my agency thrived. Then came news that made me pause. Brandon's family business, the cornerstone of their wealth and status, was struggling. Boycotts and bad press had taken their toll. "They're selling off assets," Mark informed me during a catch-up call. "Seems the mighty have fallen." I felt a twinge, not of sadness, but of closure. The final victory came unexpectedly. I was nominated for an advocacy award recognizing my work in immigrant rights and family abuse awareness. Standing on stage, accepting the award, I saw my journey flash before my eyes. The scared, lonely immigrant girl, the betrayed wife, and now this, a woman, strong, successful, and proud of her scars. "This award," I said into the microphone, "is for every person who's ever felt alone in a foreign land or unwelcome in their own family. You are seen, you are heard, and you are worthy of love and respect." As applause washed over me, I thought about Brandon's family. Their cruelty had been intended to break me, but instead, it had forged me into something stronger than they could have ever imagined. I left the stage, award in hand, ready to write the next chapter of my life, on my own terms, in my own words, with the strength of my experiences behind me. And that's the end of Pernilla's journey from victim to victor. Now, here's a question for you. Was Pernilla justified in publicly exposing Brandon's family, or did she go too far in her pursuit of justice? Where's the line between standing up for yourself and seeking revenge? Share your thoughts in the comments below.